I've been a gamer my whole life, and then I had this crazy idea. What if video games were training me to be a better artist? What if I could translate everything I did in-game to out-of-game? And while you watch me draw this, learn what I discovered so that you can unlock this hidden power too, and why gamers have a huge advantage as an artist. At the forefront of today's discussion, we want to go ahead and decide what is our role. All right, so in any classic game, you're gonna understand that there's only two types of characters that exist. And so let me just ask you this. Overall, would you say that you are living your life more like a main character, or you're living your life more like an NPC, a non-playable character? And so let me just kind of advance that discussion. Would you want to play a video game of your life right now? Or beyond that, would anybody else? Because one of the things that I used to do is I used to live my life like an NPC. And I used to think that I was stuck in this role and that I was doomed to just watch everybody surpass me. And it made me feel powerless. So my friend, do you feel like you are just a prisoner of your circumstances? Or do you want to start to be bolder and start to be an adventurer? Because by the end of this video today, I want to empower you to actually assume the role that you were put on this earth to do. Because just to be honest with you, you have been put into an NPC mindset since you were born. For the first 18 years of your life, the first 18 to 25 years of your life, you literally are an NPC. Everybody does the same thing. We all follow the same programming. It's not even your life. And so it becomes your duty to drop the NPC mindset and step into the main character energy that you actually need to. And we're going to talk about today, how do you do that so that you don't keep living vicariously through fake characters that don't exist. And this is something that I had to struggle with too. So at the start of this, let me just propose this to you. What if you didn't have to retreat to your digital life to escape your real life? What if you were equally as powerful? Because you undoubtedly are. And that's what we want to step you into the role of. Be your own main character. Stop playing on the sidelines. Get out there and go on an adventure. Next for your consideration, friend, how about this? You probably enjoy some level of challenge in a game, right? So are you that type of person that just likes to play on the hardest possible difficulty? And so on that note too, like we have no problem embracing that hard challenge, embracing all of those difficulties and exhibiting this attitude of persistence in a digital format. And you have no problem grinding when you're playing games, right? You have cultivated this attitude that there is a reward at the end of the effort, right? And you have no trouble persisting through that for hours, for days, for weeks, for months, right? And so my friend, what if you started to rework your definition of work and the meaning associated with it? And so one realization that I came to around this is that the best things always come from repetitive boredom tasks. Like, I know it's not jazzy to go ahead and talk about it like that, but really, you're not going to get the best results and the best returns from you always doing like the flashiest, most awesomest, most trendy thing. You're always going to get it from being consistent and sticking to the things that are honestly pretty boring. It's boring to go ahead and draw the same thing over and over. It's boring sometimes to go ahead and work on the same artwork for tens of hours at a time. Believe me, I know. But then let's advance that. You have embraced the fact that things are not always supposed to be easy, that they are supposed to be hard. So are you doing that in your life too? Or are you avoiding all of the hard things? Do you avoid the real work, the meaningful work in your life? Even though you're clearly able to do that in something that objectively, it will not return any of the love that you give to it. But that's not like your art. Your art will always return back to you. And so, my friend, you understand this philosophy and you have no problem demonstrating it in dozens of games. What if you started to do it yourself where it actually mattered in order to change your life? Because just put it out there, Would you want to play a game where the main character is just a total wimp and actually doesn't want to do anything at all? They don't want to wake up. They don't want to go to work. They don't want to try anything. They don't want to fight a boss. They don't want to go ahead and go on any adventures. They just want to stay inside their little bubble. That would be a pretty boring game. But again, I think that's pretty NPC energy, don't you? Moving on, one of the next most important things that's going to determine how you play in any game and overall shape your entire play style is that any good game has some type of specialization and options for you to really learn to be OP. But thinking about broadly, how does that relate to us as artists? What if you considered yourself in that same exact character creation process? What if you started to develop and implement this idea that you have to make a build for yourself too? Because just thinking about the fact that as an artist, we have to pick certain skills that we want to especially hone and develop. We want to pick certain niches and genres, and we want to pick different styles that we can all have a ton of interest in. But to be real with you, you will not have the time to be outstanding at every single one of them. So, accepting that fact, what if we just allocate all of our time, all of our energy, and all of our resources into producing the most buffed character of ourselves, of our actual art skills? How great would that be? And look, I understand how you're gonna react back to that one, so hold on with me. But just to go ahead and put it out there for myself as a freelancer first, I've shifted my focus at least 4 times as a freelancer. I went from all the way from doing anime art to doing near future military cyberpunk stuff. And then I've also nowadays gone into D&D and fantasy. And now I'm even going into book covers. So here's the biggest thing that I want to let you know too, friend, is that you also have the freedom, like many games do, to go ahead and shift and change your class mid-game. And to do this too, just putting it out there, you don't have to think about, you have to develop all the skills and all the tools and all the foundations all at once. Just as another consideration for you, you want to pick the ones that matter to you at that time. And it doesn't mean you can't go ahead and enjoy other things. It doesn't mean you can't go on side quests. And just because I'm a realism artist, you probably don't know that I can also do anime too, but I just don't put myself out there for it, because I chose this path instead. You can still experience everything, but just choose the tools, choose the skills that you need at that given moment in time, and then you can keep expanding outwards. And this again, it does not destroy all other interests or destroy all other missions. It doesn't annihilate the play experience for you as an artist. But choosing your art play style is going to deliver you the best possible play experience with the most potential growth that is uncapped. How's that? Now, any good gamer knows, especially in a really open world game, just like the one that we actually live in here, that you don't need to go through this alone. You don't need to go ahead and launch into that dungeon. You don't need to fight that boss, because real talk, art is treacherous, all right? It's a dangerous journey, y'all, and you don't have to be alone. So one thing that gaming taught me about this is that it's actually really beneficial for you to start to party up. And one thing you'll notice again is that you can't drag everybody along for that adventure, okay? There's gonna be people that don't want to. There's gonna be people still in that NPC mindset, whereas you, as a main character, exhibiting that main character energy now, you understand it's not always a good idea to solo level. Because when you're solo leveling, all you're gonna do is get stuck in the echo chamber of your own thoughts. And what does that do for you? Now, you're just in the prison of what you know, and you're also the victim of what you don't know. So you gotta fight off all these hordes of these questions and all these doubts and insecurities that are coming at you in droves all the time, and you just can't handle it. And so my friend, I want you to go ahead and start looking for your party. I want you to go ahead and, as I realized too, as somebody who was pretty much like a little bit of a shut-in, and I didn't talk to a lot of people, and I was very shy, and I was honestly like really socially inept when I was younger, especially too. And then I started to realize like, I can't do this on my own. There is value in other people. Even if maybe you're someone like me, Did people hurt you? Do you have an avoidance to them? Are you afraid of being wounded by them emotionally? So I understand you so well because that was my attitude too, until I discovered that there's a lot of value in finding the right people. And so my friend, this is the best time in history for you to connect with somebody that has the same weird little brain like you, that has those same strange interests just like you. Go ahead, you can do this physically. There are tons of meetups, tons of conventions, tons of places you can go for this one. You can also go ahead and just do this digitally as well. That's a great way to start it out too. But I just want to put this out there for you as well, because this is also what gaming taught me. For a long time, there have been a lot of dynamics in games that involve party dynamics, and especially relationship building. And to this point, I remember spending hours and hours on Dragon Age, just going ahead and talking to people. Like after every main quest, you gotta go around, you gotta talk to everybody for like an hour and hope that you chose the right thing to say to them. Y'all know what I'm talking about? Anyone been through that before too? So I didn't have any problem doing it. But I also realized that I did have a problem doing it in real life. And that's where that problem comes into play. You can't do this alone. And so building those real relationships will help you advance. Another great place to look for this is Discord servers. Like if you need a really awesome one that's not full of a lot of weird toxic people, check out mine. It's down below in the description. We're a lovely active community with great people, and I'd love for you to be on board with that too. And through finding your people, through finding your party, your fellow brave adventurers that don't want to sit on the sidelines and watch everything happen, you gain this amazing knowledge, which is that video games teach us that we need to destroy our ignorance by destroying our solo perspective on things. Next, I want you to imagine the bravery exhibited by the person who's the main character of any game as they either choose to go outside of where the game starts or as they are compelled to because they don't have a choice, and how they persist through that, okay? And so thinking about my own life, one of the things I reflected on about this is that I wished that I had that confidence. I wished at an earlier point in my life that I had that ability to do that. Because honestly, I was just stuck in the noob zone. I was afraid to go on all these missions. I was afraid of what might happen. And I also had this defeatist attitude. And so what that did was it kept me in the bubble of my comfort zone, of my starting town, of my new village. You know what I mean? Every game has this. And although that feels nice, it feels comfortable and familiar, you also got to realize too, as I did, but it just limited my capabilities in my life too. And I was stuck inside of that bubble. And so I became limited in my life and in the results of that too. And you will have no trouble finding an insane amount of NPCs living in your life right now that literally lived and died in the same exact bubble they were born into. They never left that starting town. Do you want to do that too? My friend, you need to exhibit that main character energy again, and you need to just take baby steps. Get outside that town. Go ahead and do something a little outside your norm, a little outside your comfort zone. Go ahead, go forth stupid, go forth unprepared, go forth unequipped. Like just as an example, I remember very vividly like starting up Dark Souls 2 and just being like, wow, I'm in nothing but underwear. Terrific. And there are so many games that start out like that. Like you're just in your underwear and you're completely exposed. And that's the most beautiful metaphor for what real life is like. You're literally brought into this world naked. And then what you have as you grow is literally what you've equipped yourself with in life. So go forth, unequipped, poorly defended, until you've toughened up. And that is what builds confidence. You don't have confidence at the start. And a lot of games you play, the main character would have been absolutely destroyed if they launched right into the end. But they built themselves up there. And that's how. Moving on, if you played any degree of games like me, then you know where do you find the best drops, the best loot, the best rewards. You unlock new skills. You unlock new areas. What am I talking about? I'm talking about dungeons and fighting bosses too, right? And so as an artist, what this taught me to do in that same exact mindset, when you channel it that way, is that you need to throw yourself literally into peril. And I don't mean physical harm. I don't want anything to happen to you, friend. But I do want you to throw yourself into the peril of projects. Because here's why. I'm just gonna be real. There's a lot of artists that are just stuck, not only in the noob zone, but you're only stuck farming low-level critters, okay? Like, yes, you can get to level 99 just farming basic beasts, all right? They literally did this in South Park, if y'all saw that episode, okay? But for you, what if you started to embrace comfortable challenges? What if you started to design your own obstacles to be put in your path? Because I hear way too many artists all the time of all ages and all ability levels. And their number one issue that they claim is that they need to practice more. But practice more for what? More of what? And to what extent? And for what payoff? Because in a game, you know exactly what level you have to be to go ahead and start to be formidable in any area, right? You know how much ammunition you need to go ahead and fight that boss in that shooting game. You know exactly what equipment you need in order to go ahead and best defend yourself. And usually we'll work ourselves up to that point and then tackle that, right? But you don't have that same exact achievement. You don't have that strategy guide, that knowledge, but you kind of do, and we'll talk about that later. But the best advice I can give you is you have to sharpen your focus, my friend. You have to choose what you're going to focus on. Because if your entire goal of every single artwork is to make it good, that's the worst focus. That's actually not even a focus. That's just pure distraction and nightmare fuel, because you're gonna feel bad about everything you do when it's not good. And by what standard, by the way? But only by focusing, by you choosing what skills do you want to advance. Not, is this a great artwork? Is this portfolio ready? Is this competitive? But instead you want to take a look at and say, hey, this skill, in this artwork, I killed it on perspective. In this artwork, I advanced and I got better at anatomy. In this artwork, I did a lot better with my coloring. In this artwork, I did much better because I've never done a male character or a female character. Those are the dungeons and bosses of real life. You have to put yourself into those zones and stop drawing 3,000 boxes and 200 hands and a whole bunch of stuff. Because just putting this outside of art, for an example, what if an entire season of football was just them practicing? Nobody would go. People would lose interest. Nobody would want to see that because it's not exciting, because there's no culminating event. And in the same vein of thought for you in your art life, just like it is in a game, it becomes a really pinnacle experience to your ascension. And that is the only way, my friend, that you are going to unlock new skill sets, and you're going to enter new zones and areas that you thought were previously unattainable. Stop farming low-level critters in your art. Next, one of the most widely understood potentials of every single game is that usually, at some point in it, you are going to have to go ahead and seek out a master to go ahead and study under. This usually happens in most games either right at the start, or they happen to be blessed with somebody right from the beginning or at some point that really helps to sharpen and bring out their best skills. And I think about this a lot in terms of like how you have to go ahead and seek out these people. Like in Final Fantasy VI, you have to do this for Saban, you have to find his master. Same thing too with Tifa in Final Fantasy VII. And so in a modern day version, you do this all the time, I bet, with your gaming life, just like I did, okay? You look up strategy guides, you look up cheats, hacks, you look up playthroughs, just to help get you through to the next level, to give you some new, fresh perspectives, to give you some new skills that would really unlock how to make things easier for you, right? But what about your art? Are you also doing that? Are you also being as equally directed as well too, so that you don't have just like dozens of hours of just watching nonsense on YouTube instead of you looking up art instruction, or instead of you actually putting in the time and effort into finding somebody that could make a meaningful difference? Are you doing that with your life too? And so one thing I learned is that I had to really make it an effort to go ahead and seek out guidance, seek out advice from people that were better than me. Because honestly, you will never advance your knowledge if you're only gonna keep other artists and other adventurers around you that are only at your level. So there are great places you can go to online. You can go ahead, there are some wonderful forums I recommend for you too. Myself personally, I really like the QBrush forums. There are tons of Discord servers that I'm a part of as well, where I can get good, meaningful feedback. And then another big thing that I learned that was really important for me is that I needed to find a mentor. And so I've actually had 3 professional artists as my own mentor. And it's been so game changing. Like, the best way I can describe it is that mentors literally collapse time. Like, it literally saved me probably years of my life of trying to figure things out on my own. And that is the best way that I can describe what it is like to have somebody to study with and to study under so that you can raise yourself up 10 times faster. And if you like my advice, go ahead and check out my mentorship. You can find a link down below in the description, because I would love to go ahead and help you level up faster so that you don't have to keep grinding the same areas and never advancing through it. But working with somebody in any capacity and working with people to level up, it will give you time and also insane skills that are unattainable by most, because that's what happens in games, and you can also bring that into real life. Now, I've got a big question for you. Do you ever just stop what you're doing in game and just like look around and appreciate it? I find this so incredible. Like, you just pause and you just like scroll the camera around and you're like, wow, it's a gorgeous game. What a beautiful place. I love that component of games, like how immersive they all are and how we have those moments where we just stop and we just take it in. And so, my friend, I just want to ask you this. Do you ever do that with your own life? Because myself, I used to use video games as an escape from my life. I was very uncomfortable in it. I did not enjoy it. I struggled with some depression on there. And it was because of my disinterest in my life and my own unhappiness that, as commonly happens with a lot of people, they fall into gaming because gaming offers them what real life does not, and what they are not working towards as well, on the other hand, like we've discussed too. And so, if we compare that to your art journey, are you always crapping on your art journey? Are you always putting yourself down? Do you make fun of yourself? Oh, this is so stupid. Oh, that's terrible. I suck at this. Where's your moment of appreciation? Why aren't you taking in what you've done, what you've built, no matter how good you are at art? Because just to empower you here, my friend, do you know that only 1% of the entire global population considers themselves an artist? You, my brave soul, have chosen to be part of that. That is not to be discounted or overlooked. That's an amazing ability. That's a testament to your character. And what video games taught me, in a lot of regards to my art life, is that art is not a rush. It's not a race. It's an adventure, just like we're used to digitally here. And you get to choose how you want to experience it. Do you want to do PvP? Do you want to do PvE? Or, as I discovered it, PvMe. Because what people overlook a lot is the fact that art is a mental, emotional, and personal challenge over yourself. And to be more frank with that, art is a battle. It's a battle against your environment and where you live and where you were born. It's a battle against socioeconomics and how you believe that you will be poor for the rest of your life or lack thereof, or you were born into this class and you will die into this class, or your ability to free yourself from it. It's a battle of your habits, your mindsets, your beliefs. It's a battle about your imposed limitations, because if you didn't know, most of your thoughts aren't even yours. They were just taught to you at some point. And the best part is that art helps you succeed at all of those hardships. But you will never progress if you're not pausing to assess what your growth has been like. Because there is no beauty without struggle. And there's certainly no sharpened sword that did not expose itself to fire and hammer. And in the same way, you have to see what you have gone through in order to get to where you want to go. Next, a curious question. Would you ever play a game where nothing changes? There's no advancements, even on like sim games. I'm talking to you people, because I know someone's gonna say this. Like, you would probably log off, right? You probably put that thing away and never pick it up. And so I want to propose to you, does this sound like your life right now? Because when you're playing a game, and I'm talking about like those games that I still look back fondly on, that I love the story and I love the plot and I enjoyed the characters, what's the common trait that I see? The story and the plot, it's inevitable that there will be progression.
And then throughout that entire experience, we're always unable to return to the previous version of that world, right? You can't go back unless you restart the entire game, but you don't get a redo. And so what video games taught me is that there's actually good news in this. Regardless of where you are, the plot of your life is always moving forward. Regardless of where you are right now, you can progress. You are not stuck. Life is not parallel, my friend. It's always progressing, and you can always move forward. And where I can also advance this to, as far as what I learned, is that any good main character is going to go through some type of character development cycle. And so if we put that onto you, you can too. You do. And what we realize, and this is backed up by psychology, is that our personality is not static. We're not fixed. We are just a large series of choices and habits and programming that we've instilled into ourselves and been instilled into us. The best part about that is that you can change your programming at any time if you just start making small habitual changes towards it. And again, I want you to consider how a main character changes through their journey, how they have to adapt, how they have to go ahead and destroy parts of themselves in order to build the better, newer parts of themselves. Because if you're not seeing character development, it might be because you might have obscured the fact that there's always time and there's always room for you to grow. But push your character development a little bit further and you will be a bit happier. How's that sound? Now, I want to talk about one of the most curious components that I see in so many games. And you ever notice how a lot of them will actually keep track of how much time you play? I vividly remember this. I remember playing Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, okay? The original, not the remake. I haven't played that one yet. But I remember looking at the fact that I clocked in 200 hours on that. I don't know why, but I have that locked into my brain. And I remember having that moment of just reflection and be like, wow, that's a lot of time. Man, that was fun. And then I had this idea and I said, but what if I use that time for myself? Because in a game, most people look at playtime with pride, a sign of proficiency. And so we make that association digitally, okay? That your playtime is proportionate to your proficiency. But what if we brought that out of game too? And so, my friend, here's what I want to ask you. How much time are you investing into enjoying other people's creations and taking yourself out of the role of doing it yourself? Because to get really down and real with you here, we have to make a choice in our life. We are either going to be a consumer or we are going to be a creator. And one of them will make you absolutely miserable. And only one of them will actually make you happy. And so in your consideration of this, if you only play the game for a couple hours that's meant to be played for 60, would you complain that your character isn't strong enough or that you can't fight the final boss? No, you would never do that. But you'll do that with your art. Oh, well, I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't start commissions, I can't start my journey, I'll never get a job in it. But you're not putting in the time to it. You see the issue? Games and media, they're fun. I don't look back and regret every moment of it. I definitely have a good influence base from it. But at some point too, my friend, I just want to put this out there very bluntly for you because I want to help you and I want to help take you out of this role of being the NPC of your life. At some point, we have to be an adult. We have to take ownership of our life and our time and how we are using it in order to combat the life that we could have or build the one that we want. And one thing that video games teaches us is that time invested equals returns increased. And on that same note, satisfaction increased. Because as you make progress, you start to feel proficient. And as you start to feel proficient, you will feel confident. And then on the other end of this note, the more time that you spend away from creation, because that is our default mode as human beings. We are not put here to just be couch gluttons. We're meant to create. That's in our nature. And so what I will warn you about is that the more time that you take yourself out of the role of being a creator, the more depression, anxiety, poor physical and mental health you will experience. And if you doubt me on that one, there's loads of research about it. There's loads of studies. I even wrote about it in my dissertation. And I don't want that to be you because that was me trapped in that role of avoiding my creator role for years of my life. So a simple way that will shift your entire paradigm is you don't have to stop playing games. I still play games sometimes, but what's your proportion? Because if your proportion is more in favor of most of your time being put in to doing consumption activities, then you're also weakening your role as a creator, and therefore you're gonna make yourself miserable. Do you really want that? All right, so one of the coolest things that gaming taught me is that literally anybody, and especially those from the most ordinary, not extraordinary beginnings, can do incredible things. Nobody's can make a difference. Like, this is not fantasy. And I understand how we tend to lament the circumstances of our birth and where we were put or what we look like. I could think of some things that would probably give me advantages in other aspects of my life. I've literally had the thought to myself, like, oh man, if only I was one of those like super attractive people, maybe I would be a little bit more popular on YouTube. Maybe people would want to listen to my advice more and I could help out more artists like you. Or I've also thought, well, if I was born rich, I'd have access to more resources and more tools and more knowledge that I don't right now. Or, hey, you know what? If I wasn't born to poor parents, then I would have such a good leg up and advantage. Or if I wasn't born in this like nowheresville town, then maybe that would give me a leg up. But one of the best things that you'll see in so many games is that they'll teach us that honestly, the most lame and lackluster intro stories are the ones that can go on to do outrageously cool things. And if you're in that mode of thought, I just want to let you know that if you feel that you were born disadvantaged and you feel that you have some type of mountain that's just insurmountable, the biggest losers can beat the most talented artists out there. You don't have to be born into that, and you don't have to curse it either. And to tell you every reason, as I learned, why you could go ahead and be a complete loser in your life and go ahead, turn that around into making the best art life ever. Go ahead and watch this video right here. It's gonna change your perspective on everything. And if this helped you, please share with someone that you know. Thanks so much and see you next time.